And this is going to be episode 78 of the Pop.
Oh, 78.
78, it's a big one. It's a milestone, most people say.
Like, wow, 78. No way. Nice, not so round number.
Yeah, that's what's great about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just sort of out there. Whose favorite number is 78?
Surely somebody's.
It's got to be people who were like born in 1978. That seems to me to be the widest pool, I would bet.
It does feel that way.
Because it's not like a popular like sports number, or it's not even like a good like I was born on that day, because you know it's way outside of the 30s.
It could be the case though that it's. Maybe we should just talk about it on the Pop. What's poppin', everybody? Hello and welcome to Popcorn Culture. My name is Ben Carlin and I am your host. Here with me today is my brother Jay, who will be in every episode.
The co-hostiest with the mostiest.
The mostiest what's?
The mostiest co-hostiest.
It sounds like you have the mostiest number of qualifiers attached to the word host.
Well, that's something.
Less is more in some cases.
You think so?
In some cases.
Well, okay. You have decided to put one true in front of host.
But one true was good.
One true. Why not just host? Is that not less? Is less not more?
In this particular case, there are instances where more is more, but then also instances where there can be too much becomes too much more.
I see.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying?
I see.
So co-hostiest with mostiest, it feels like you've crossed the line of how much more. Like some amount of more is adding. It's like icing on a cake.
Right.
You know, it's like everybody's like, I want more icing. But then there also gets to that point where it's like you go to eat like a piece of cake right at the top and it's got like a huge wad of icing.
Suddenly it's like this is mostly icing.
It's like your mouth, like the physical reaction to this level of sweetness is like laughter. It's like I need to laugh in reaction to the amount of sweet in my mouth, but it's like not a positive flavor, you know?
Whatever you say, host. I agree, though.
Laughter is not a good flavor. That's what I'm trying to say.
Laughter is not a good flavor. Then it leaves you laughing and unable to enjoy the food.
Exactly.
Yeah, and now you're laughing with frosting in your mouth. Probably a lot.
And nobody wants that.
No one wants to be frosting at the mouth.
I nailed it.
Nailed it.
Oh, it was so good.
This is what you're describing is a real problem with I think cupcakes. The modern day cupcake.
You're not wrong, even in the sliverest.
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming what you're going for here is the fact that like boutique cupcakeries.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's what you would call it, but it's what I'm going with.
I think boutique cupcakeries is exactly what we're going with.
Headcanon.
Yeah.
But it's the case that you walk in and you have this like brilliant selection of beautifully decorated cupcakes before you, and they all have like a very perfect like round swirl with like a little tiny piece of candied flour placed on the tip.
Right. What they're really doing is making you like really like eat with your eyes.
Yes.
Whilst you're there. The problem is that the cupcakes have sort of taken what I would call a Stanley Duck approach,
which is
maybe they're a little top heavy to some people. Now this is a case where more is more.
I agree.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no debate there. But no, you're absolutely correct. It's like you go in and you see all of these cupcakes, and first and foremost, they are beautiful.
Right.
Like and the cupcakery just smells good anyway.
It smells
while
like
you're
sugar.
It
smells
does.
like laughter.
Yes, it does. And laughter's a great smell.
Laughter's a good smell.
But it's not the best flavor.
No.
And that's the thing. And so it's like you come in and you see all these things and they are beautiful and you want to buy a selection for your friend whose 30th birthday it is. And you're like, I want one of those and those and those and those. And a lavender one for that one friend.
Yeah.
That one friend who's like,
they're going to be like, is this a lavender? Did you get this from the new cupcake boutiquerie?
It's like, yes, I did for you. I knew you were going to be here.
Wow.
And so I planned for it. So look at me go. I was ready for you.
Yeah, friend.
Lavender eating cupcake person.
Yeah.
But then you get there and you go to eat the cupcake, and for one, it is bigger than your face. So it's like from top to bottom, we're talking like, hold on, let's imagine here, maybe like
bigger than this.
I would bet like 4 to 4.5 inches of top to bottom height.
It feels possible to me that if you tried to take a bite of the cupcake at the the go-to location, which would be so that you get a little bit of frosting, right at the base.
Yeah.
Right where the paper ends.
Right.
That's where
yeah.
you take a bite of a cupcake, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. It feels to me like you are at risk of getting frosting in your eyebrows sometimes. You know what I mean?
But maybe what people are going here for is getting you to get as much of it into your nose as possible, because the people at the cupcakery know that laughter is a good smell.
They do know that.
And they're like, you don't want any of this in your mouth, but what you do want it to be is right on your nose. And then you're going to truly enjoy the product before you. No, but the thing is, okay, so like honestly, they are so beautiful, they are so gorgeous, but really the best cupcakes are the ones where they held it and they took a knife and they used the knife to blob some and then kind of smear it all about so that there is like an icing covering on top, but it's like a thin layer.
Yeah. Yeah, like you get that frosting flavor.
Right.
But you don't have to deal with it in your nose or eyebrows.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly right. But it's one of these things where I love it because we have a good cupcakery here in Roanoke. It's called Bubble Cake.
Bubble Cake.
I believe so. If you ever visit, I would recommend going and looking at them, if nothing else.
Eat with your eyes.
But it's a really, really great gesture gift in my mind. Like, frequently you might find yourself going to, and that's why I said 30th birthday party. It's like you might be going to celebrate somebody and you want to go and like have a thing. And this is kind of like it falls into a great gift category in my mind, where you can go and spend like $20, $25 on cupcakes. And that is a lot of money to spend on cupcakes, but it is not a lot of money in the scheme of dollar figures.
It's an excellent point, because it's more money than someone's going to normally spend on cupcakes for themselves.
Precisely.
Right.
Yes. So by having them there, it's a very like gracious thing to offer.
Good like boutique experience.
Yes. Yes. And you support local businesses, which is always a great idea.
Always good.
And so that I frequently do this, and like it'll be like, okay, this is like a great thing. I'll bring them like a half dozen of cupcakes or whatever. And then sometimes you'll get to that point and they're like, hey, do you just want to like bust in these? And it's like, oh heck yeah. And like that one friend takes the lavender one, and then I pick, like something that's usually like cookie dough flavored, because I like cookie dough.
Yeah.
And I'll go for it, and it's almost like I can only eat half of one,
right?
Realistically, and it's almost like I don't even know. It's like I need to cut off half of the icing and then also cut it in half, and then it's appropriate.
But see, this is the problem. I'm sure people at home are just like, God, just eat it with a fork and a knife.
Sure.
Which is, maybe it's the easier, cleaner way. But to me, if you have to use a knife and a fork, then then you should have just gotten cake. Like, you were outside the spirit of cupcake.
Exactly.
It's like, that's the problem. It's like, yeah, I can use a knife or fork, but I shouldn't have to, because it's a cupcake. And if I needed this, it shouldn't have been a cupcake.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yes, it is by design supposed to be like finger food.
Yeah.
Food that you can manage with your hands.
Exactly.
No additional utensils necessary.
I will say, so my advice to people going out to their local cupcakery is get the baby cakes, because you never want to be like, my problem is that like I'm walking in and I'm like, I'm not going to get the baby cakes. I'm like, look at me, I'm huge. I'm not ordering baby-sized dessert.
Look at me. I'm huge.
I'm huge. I'm like a giant.
What is your definition of huge?
Look, Ben, look at me right now.
This is
it.
Before you is huge.
This is bigger than baby cakes. You know what I'm saying?
Can I give You are not baby cakes.
I am not baby cakes.
By way of height, like people are like, describe Jay. You would not say he's baby cakes.
Like, baby cakes.
Right, yeah. Baby cakes Garland over there. Oh my gosh. But I have to tell a story about this, because I thought this is like, it sticks with me as one of the more, I don't even know why. It's a unique interaction that we've had at a meetup before.
Okay.
I think that like when we go and we do like a Super Carlin Brothers meetup, and people come out and they get like they come through, and we get like to spend time like with each person who's there as they come through. All of the experiences are so overwhelmingly positive. It's like these are people who like definitely decided to take the time and energy to like come and see us. And so, it's very infrequent that you haven't like anybody there to say something remotely negative, which is great, because from my perspective, it means that I get to like fill my cup to like overflowing status in terms of just positive interactions inside of one day.
Right.
But we had one instance before where there was a gentleman who I believe came to the meetup with maybe his girlfriend. And do you know where I'm going with this?
I think so. Yes, I do think I recall.
Okay. Well, so one of the things that people frequently say when they meet us is they're like, "Wow, you're taller than I thought you might be." And I would say you and I are both like probably fairly average height-ish. Like we're not like actively tall, but we're like 6 foot. What are you, 6'1"?
6'1".
6'1". Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
A tall 6'1".
A tall 6'1". Yeah. On the high end.
On the high end of 6'1".
Right, yeah. I'm on the medium end of 6'0". Yeah. But so this guy comes through and his girlfriend makes this comment. She's like, "You're taller than I thought you'd be." And she's like, "How tall are you guys?" And we said exactly that. We were like, I'm 6 foot and he's 6'1". And the guy looks at us and he goes, "Really? 6 foot? That's what you're going with?" And I was like, yes. Like, like I didn't really know how to respond.
Only based on inches, if that's what you mean.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Not based on all units of measurement.
Right.
But, or depending on varying feet sizes the world over.
Right.
Even that.
Right.
But according to the ruler.
Right.
According
to the ruler, when I went to the doctor, they said stand here, and they wrote down 6 foot, and that's what I'm going with.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is the basis for my argument.
Yeah.
But open to conversation. We can. So now.
So he questioned your height.
He questioned my height.
Yeah.
Yes. And it was, I didn't know, I don't know. I've always thought this was just very funny. And I don't know why this particular interaction stood out to me, but it completely did. So when you said that you're a big guy, not baby cakes, I was like,
well, it sounds like he questioned your height. He was, I don't remember him saying that to me.
Oh, so he only directed it at me?
Maybe it was only directed. He was like, "Look, this guy's not baby cakes. You 6 foot though? I don't know.
You're right on that line.
maybe a generous 5'11".
Oh man. Well, so anyway, there was that.
Oh well, There was that. Well, sorry to whoever you were. It sounds like you have some growing to do.
Hey.
Now, okay, Ben, let me take a not so sharp right turn, but a veer right,
Okay.
if you will, into a different strong opinion about weak things.
Please do.
Yeah, I will. This is pretty much along the same vein, but it fits so nicely, and I wrote it down, so we're going to talk about it. Okay. So this past weekend, I saw one of the most annoying things.
Oh, no.
Right?
What was it?
I am driving down the road, and I see next to me someone driving in their car. It is a convertible.
Okay.
They've got the top down. They've got the windows up.
You are kidding me
I am
right
not kidding
now.
you, Ben. And it was just like, it just made me so upset. Even I was like, what is the point of, like, this person is doing it so wrong. It looks so ridiculous when you're in a convertible with the top down and the windows up. I was just like, Beth, look at this. Look, what is that person doing? What are they doing?
Should we go over there and talk to them right now?
I feel like I could feel the car like blushing in embarrassment. It honestly looked like the car was like, guys, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
I am not in control of my windows. The person driving is in control of the window. I felt bad for the car.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm imagining here is that
Yeah.
the very nature of convertibles is that like it's like you've taken the roof off of your car.
You've taken the roof off of the car.
By design. So that you can feel the wind flowing through your hair.
Yeah.
And what this person has done is maintained like side coverage
Right.
of said wind.
This is the argument, is that like, well, probably having the windows up stops the wind from hitting your hair. And it's like, yes, it probably does. Do you know what else does that? The roof of your car.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. I can sort of like kind of get on board with where you're coming from here, because it's it does seem like you've made the choice, because that's the other thing too, is that convertibles are exactly that. They're not topless vehicles.
Oh, right.
They are convertibles, meaning they are vehicles that have tops that you can convert to vehicles that do not have
If you
tops.
have a problem with the wind in your hair, don't put the top down or don't own a convertible.
Exactly. Like there were other choices that could have been made
Right.
that could have solved
Yeah.
this particular
It
dilemma.
was just outside the spirit of the car entirely, and I cannot stand for it, Ben.
Well, I can sort of get that, and I can sort of even continue your strong opinions about weak things, which is that I'm not actually much a fan of convertibles anyway.
Oh, okay.
Like this is sort of like an odd thing where I'm not sure if maybe they were particularly in as we were like growing up in the 90s. Like there was more of the advent of the like the rag top vehicles, which made, you know, having the convertible that much more accomplishable versus actually having to like remove like a hard roof and like leave it in your garage or elsewhere, middle of your yard at that street sign or something. But so I remember growing up thinking that like, oh man, convertibles, that's like cool cars, you know, like the very nature of the fact that it was a convertible in my head was like, just regardless of what it was. I mean, a PT Cruiser that is a convertible is a cool car.
To me, yeah, I think growing up, it did not even occur to me that convertible was describing a feature of a car. It was just a kind of car.
Oh,
like,
interesting.
You know,
like in the same way that like a Corvette is a car.
Right. Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
You know, like it was like, oh yeah, convertibles. Like it's anything with the top down is a convertible.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay. Interesting.
But
interesting.
yeah, not the case.
Not the case.
Plenty of different kinds are. It's interesting to me that you said you're not a fan of convertibles because I believe just last week's pop, you were describing your dream car, which I think by definition is a convertible.
Okay, because we were talking about my Jeep Wrangler.
The Jeep Wrangler.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So the thing about the Jeep, and my Jeep actually, in the most literal sense, was a convertible because it had like hard sides, so it was like air quotes hard top Jeep, because there are soft tops and hard top Jeeps, like they look very different, and one of them you almost have to have like either multiple friends or a roof contraption to like lift it off if it's the hard top, and then you can go topless, or most of the time it's like a rag top and you just like pull a couple of clips and pull it backwards and then the roof is down. Ours was neither of these, and it had like the hard top and like a button you can press and the top would like all the way open. And it is funny because while it does give you that like open air experience, it's like I didn't really think of it as a convertible so much as just like a really, really big sunroof.
Okay.
And
is not the Wrangler, when I think of it in my mind, is like an open air experience.
It sort of is an open air experience. I mean, like that is they are built in such a way that you can like literally they provide you with a tool so that you can like very easily remove the doors. You can very easily like take the top off and all of these things and like then go experience it. And I do think in that capacity, I would love it because it's just different. Like it's not attempting to be like a fast looking car. It's just like, this is just like experiencing the breeze maybe in a very different way than convertibles. But like for me, any type of sports car I would ever want would not be a convertible. Very specifically.
Very specifically.
Yeah. So I would say that like when it really comes down to it, my strong opinion about weak things is that I don't care if you have your windows up or down in your convertible. I just don't really like convertibles.
Oh, I see. So you're just like, you're trying to be cool. You're failing out of the gate with your convertible.
It's not that I would go so far as to say that somebody else is not being cool with their convertible. It's just that I don't think, like, I wouldn't want one.
Okay.
That's not like that's not what I would be after. But I mean, you're more than welcome to be cool with yours. And actually I had this maybe this is an okay segue because last week we talked about subwoofers.
I was just going to ask you, did you get the subwoofers?
I have not yet. I have not yet made a decision.
Are they in your cart?
They're the tab is open on my computer.
The tab is open. Okay.
Okay. But so I felt like I got like tons and tons and tons of emails from people who were reacting in completely different ways. I had people messaging me being like, "Oh my gosh, subwoofers are so fun, like go for it." And other people being like, "Please don't get subwoofers. Like they were never cool." And it was okay. So I had this like experience with it because there was, I would say the overwhelming majority of people were saying something along the lines of, you do not want subwoofers. They weren't cool then. They aren't cool now. And I would say that on the whole, my only problem with that particular take is that it's like, it's like, have you ever really liked something and then somebody made you feel like it wasn't cool?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This is, I mean, I know I was giving my story about how I was listening to a book last week and someone pulled up and I was like, oh, this guy.
Yeah, sure.
But to that end, I mean, if you want subwoofers, go ahead and get them. These sounds like subwoofers are some big old spikes ears.
So yeah, I mean, I would say they are, and that was like the notable thing that I feel like I said in last week's pop was that like when I first like encountered them, it was this thing that was like it just sort of like resonated with me, and like not like no pun intended because they literally vibrate, but it was like I personally liked them not for external reasons, but for very internal reasons. Like
right.
I enjoyed this in such a way that was like, I want to be able to enjoy it more on my own. And so what I thought was just interesting about it is because it's like, in a sense, I was almost like, is it or could it be the case that subwoofers are like somehow nerdy? Like with the idea, because you and I were discussing this a little bit, like what is defined as something that is nerdy, and like is there like what makes it so? Because I would say that for a huge part of like what we do with the Super Carlin Brothers YouTube channel is like when we were in high school, we maybe wouldn't have immediately gone to broadcast how much we really were into like the Harry Potter books and stuff like that, and it was something. You look like you're.
I don't know. I don't feel like my high school experience was too down on Harry Potter. Like I had friends who were actively big into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe a bad example.
Okay.
Bad example. But let's say I know that you played like Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh, for sure.
Like the trading card game in high school. So maybe that's not the type of thing you would have like, I don't know, like got to homeroom and busted out and started, having a duel with someone in your class or something.
Right.
Anyway, and not
Wait
to say
until pre-calc.
There you go. There you go. Not to say that anything is wrong with any of those things, but the idea might be that like what ultimately identifies something as just being cool versus something that is nerdy, because it feels like, to me, I think a lot of nerdy things are cool.
Well, this is exactly I think you're totally onto something, because what should make something cool is whether or not you are passionate about it. And it seems like at some point, like there was, or for a long time, it was like things could either be nerdy or they could be like cool, and those things were like separated. And so almost like intrinsically, the act of being nerdy was that something was nerdy because it was not cool. But that's a really stupid definition all around, because here's for just as a classic, maybe traditional sort of example, like you might have put like trading cards on one side of the table as like nerdy, and like football or something on the side of things that was cool.
Yes.
Like just for the sake of it. Not saying either's cool. I like both a lot.
Right. But relatable example.
Relatable example. Here's the thing. If you're super into football, you're just a football nerd.
Sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Like if you're, or to that end, if you think, your trading card game is cool, then it is cool. It's like there's not camps for nerdy or cool. If you think something's cool, chances are you are a nerd about it.
Yes. Yeah. So it's almost like it's almost like the case that can be like a term that you could almost then assert as to like maybe a good way to demonstrate what your level of interest in something might be. So like it could be the case, like exactly like you said, it's like I'm really into football, I'm a football nerd. I'm really into barbecue, I'm a barbecue nerd. I'm really into aquariums, I'm an aquarium nerd.
Exactly.
And it's almost like that's like your signifier. It's like, oh no, like let me tell you, like I am into it to this extent to which I am now of the self assigned title that like I have reached nerd status,
right,
in how much I enjoy something.
So are you a wolf nerd then?
Well, this is sort of like the odd thing about it, because anything that like we've talked about it before, it's like a bingo square for popcorn culture. Like Jay gets too technical about Pokemon, but like the things that you might be saying about Pokemon to anybody who is also into it might not seem like you're being too technical, but you are purely speaking the jargon.
Right.
And so I think that it could easily be the case that I could start talking about like home or car audio in a way that I don't feel like in the scheme of things I really know that much about it, like to where I could go and actually talk to like an expert, or even the guy at the store,
Right.
you know, would absolutely know more than me, versus like maybe my aquarium knowledge. If I went and talked to the guy at the store, I would feel more confident that the Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec at Lowe's, like, I know more than you. Like,
Right, yeah.
like, you know, like that type of, like, I know how far into that particular area I am, and how much knowledge I have in that area. Which is not to say that it's complete by any stretch of the imagination, but it's like, I feel like I could start talking about speakers in a way that would immediately be like, Ben got too technical about speakers.
Ben got too technical about speakers.
But that might literally just be because like, I know like the brands that are popular, or
Right.
like some specific models that are known to be like the model.
You're in such a weird Venn diagram though, because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know you to be like super into music in general.
This is the thing.
Yeah.
This is forever been the thing. Like, I have owned for so long, I have absolutely had more money invested into the speakers that play music than the music I have to play out of those speakers.
Right.
Like, it could be the case that I have 3 CDs, you know,
Yeah.
and like speakers that were $500 or something. You know,
Right.
just throw an arbitrary number at it. But like, you know, 3 CDs is like $30 to $50
Yeah.
worth of like investment into music versus significantly more in being able to like make it sound cool.
Right. You know what though? Even that doesn't sound like, as we're describing it, it doesn't sound like that different from like other hobbies. It sounds a lot like every kid growing up ever who collected like Pokemon cards and didn't play the game.
Oh, sure.
You know,
sure.
it's like, oh yeah, I love I have tons of them. It's like, can you play? It's like, well, like, I mean, I've got to I mean, that's really not why I'm. It's like, but it's a game. It's like, yes, and the point is to play, right? But I just don't. I have them.
I collect.
I have them.
Yes. It's so funny. Well, I mean, like, I go back to this all the time because it seems like Beanie Babies and Pokemon cards feel like they struck at like exactly the same period in history that like eBay also became like a bit of a household name.
Yeah.
And I have forever felt like what happened was all of a sudden there was this place, and it wasn't that it wasn't the case that collectibles had already been a thing prior to the existence of eBay, but eBay gave a marketplace for those things.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden, there could be people who had sort of throughout their childhood purchased things that are now valuable, and they could now go
Right.
and sell. And I feel like because all of that came like right in the same centerfold, you had trading cards coming out where it's like, ooh, I have some rare ones. Like by having these rare cards at some point in time, they could be worth much money.
Right.
And people also thought the same thing with Beanie Babies. It's like, we gotta get like that Princess Diana bear because like that's like, you
Right.
know,
Like the
that's-
fun of collecting Beanie Babies was that like one day it'll have been worth it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why, like, for some reason, every time you see someone with Beanie Babies, the tag is still on it.
Yes.
Like, there's no reason for the tag to be on it. And people were all, like, they would be like, oh, I got to keep the tag safe. That's the thing that makes it valuable is the tag is safe. And it's like, let me tell you something. That's probably true. If you really are very interested in selling it, you probably need the tag to remain in mint condition.
Sure.
But also, what you need to do is probably just keep that in a glass box somewhere and not touch it.
No, exactly.
Like, all
Yeah, yeah.
together. Like
All- yes.
throwing your little plastic clip-on tag protector and then proceeding to play with your Beanie Baby anyway. You've already, like,
It's so funny though, because it totally was a departure of how people previously bought like stuffed animals, you know, it's like, which were meant to be played with. And I think what was odd about this was you had people buying like way more stuffed animals than they ever would have purchased, and also not using them as stuffed animals.
Right.
You know, like, which was really funny. And I think the extreme irony of this particular thing was our younger brother, Tyler, got one, like, I think, you know, for Christmas one year, it was just like a gift that was given to him. And it was like before they had really started to become a thing. I think it was the Garcia bear, and it was like a tie-dyed whatever.
Oh,
and
yeah.
very ironically, he loved it and treated it as a teddy bear and brought it with him everywhere. And it was, you know, after years of being loved and stuff, you know, it was like the Velveteen Rabbit. Like you could see that clearly a child had taken this outside to play with it, then slept with it, and, you know, like whatever, had it next to him during meal times and stuff. So it was filthy and grimy and all the rest, but very loved. the ironic thing is that it was probably also what would be the most valuable bear we had ever actually had.
It was like the only one that actually became valuable.
Yes,
Yeah.
it would be like having like a first edition Charizard card, like, you know, like Pokemon card, but then having like used it as like your bookmark because you just thought it looked cool. You know,
I
for
just like Charizard. I just carried it with me.
yeah, for like 20 years, it's like, yeah, like I've always used the same one. I never lose it because it's my favorite Charizard card.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you like that?
But
What?
wow, oh, that's a
Right.
real bummer.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
But so I always thought that was very funny.
Yeah.
Like the drastic shift. But at the same rate, though, I feel like this has always been like one of the big thought processes that you've had about things. It might segue nicely into my next topic here, which is like the idea that you don't buy things for future perceived value. Like you don't buy necessarily a car because it has good resale. You buy a car because it's the car that like matches your wants and needs and fits your personality in whichever way you want or need it to. Right? Like is that somewhat the case?
Yes, I would. I mean, I have. Yes.
I'll give a better example because maybe cars are bad investment. Well, not bad investments, but they don't hold value well on the whole anyway. But like if you were renovating your home, I think lots of people make the argument of like, I used this color because it like increases resale or something of the home. Like it's more likely that future buyers of my home will like these countertops, this
Right.
cabinet color,
Yeah.
these stainless steel appliances, whatever the case may be. And I think what you've said in the past is something along the lines of like, just get what you want. Like,
Yeah, like-
because you are not like upgrading your house to sell it. You are upgrading your house to live there.
Right. I think I will say having now, and now that we're on like our second house and gone through the process of selling the first one,
Yes.
we're like it very much makes a lot more sense to me, or like really the effects of it were very apparent while we were selling the house. I could see like, oh, I can see how this would have like really saved you a ton of money in one way or the other
Oh, sure.
going forward. But and so I understand why people upgrade for the sake of like the resale value and stuff. Totally as well. But I also, I think for the longest time growing up, it was just like baffling to me that people would be like, yeah, we're moving, so we're renovating the bathroom, and I'd be like, what?
Oh,
Like,
sure.
You know, like
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, we need to renovate because that'll increase the value of the house. And it's just like, but like you're not even gonna get to use it. And it would just like drive me crazy.
Sure,
Like
sure.
that, like just or like the reason you're buying the things you're buying is because it'll make the house more valuable versus like, but would you enjoy living it? Like, do you want it? Yeah. Like, or I think, back to your point, it's very much, even as a kid though, with like the trading cards and stuff, like it was never a huge, like I always wanted to actually play with people.
Yes.
And like, no, I cannot even tell you how zero interest people had in playing.
And that was the
the
thing
game.
too. Yeah, is I feel like you were in this like really small minority of people that like bought it so that you could like put together a competitive deck and be strategic and go and play with your friends and like
Right.
like the reason that you want more booster packs is not like, oh, maybe I'll pull that one rare card. It's like I need a card to complete the strategy I'm trying to implement, and
Exactly.
I want to pull it so I can use it.
Yeah.
And I think that probably this is my guess is that there was like an odd like competition maybe with like Magic the Gathering, which has been like a long time card playing like trading card game.
Yeah.
Where it could have been the case that like that like the people who played that were still so consumed by that.
Right.
And maybe the mechanics at that point in time of the Pokemon trading card game weren't so sophisticated to where it was like we're going to abandon this really well put together game over here to
Right.
come in and kind of get like the rudimentary
On what is clearly a flash in the pan Pokemon. Who's going to care about that in a couple of years?
exactly.
Yeah.
Fast forward to now.
Fast forward to now, 25th anniversary. What up?
There you
Also,
go.
I will say that like the base. I mean, I have been getting further and further into like the Pokemon card game as in like right now.
Oh yeah.
And it's been interesting looking back at like some of the history of it, like what were like the really good decks, maybe when we were kids. Not that we could have like competed or anyway, or not that I had any sense of what it meant to be good at a card game as a
Sure.
child. But it seems like coming out of like the base set, like when we were really collecting, there was those first three. So like the base set, Jungle, and Fossil.
Okay.
I think those were the three that we would have actually bought stuff from.
Right.
Not to get too technical about Pokemon, but basically there was like one deck that
Oh,
was like,
really?
everyone basically ran just Hitmonchan, Electabuzz, and Scyther, and that was That was it. It's called Haymaker, and it has like a place of like it says like little legendary status around it for being like the first real deck
Like-
to come from the game. And it's like everyone sort of knows about Haymaker,
Right.
And it's these 3 cards.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty fun. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
That's a bit of interesting Pokemon trivia that I would not have known.
Yeah, I think it's fun. So it's like, and of course, it's very hard. It's like, how could you really need some like niche friends to be like, let's try and collect base card sets so we can play that old deck. Because it's not like knowing about it is cool, but like, are you ever going to use it? Probably not.
Probably not. But yeah, and you're exactly right though, because at that point in time, the way that I would have played that game would have been like, basically anybody who has Charizard is going to win.
Yeah, right.
That was like, because it seemed like everybody knew even then, like this is the rare card. I remember we were out to dinner once and the kids at the table, the booth behind us pulled a Charizard while we were there. And we were like, what? And we were like, where did you guys get those? And they were like, Books A Million. And we were like, Mom, Dad, can we go to Books A Million?
Like, they probably have another one. It's like, actually, if they pulled it for Books A Million, probably they don't have another one.
Yeah, maybe that's statistically really how things were going to work out
that's
there.
how it goes.
But I remember sitting there and being like, I cannot wait for dinner to be over because we're going to get a Charizard tonight.
It's happening.
Yeah, it didn't.
Not only did no one in our house ever pull a Charizard card, but no one in our house, I don't think, ever pulled a Blastoise or a Venusaur either. Like, I don't think anyone in our house pulled one of the original starters.
Interesting.
Ever.
Yeah, okay. Well, I can't remember, honestly, because I sold my entire collection at Happy's Flea Market, I believe, when I was like 10 years old for $75, and then went and bought a Razor scooter.
Razor scooter.
It was so exciting.
It was.
And when I got my Razor scooter, I don't know what this is about me, but like I love to customize things, and it has been true about me my whole life.
Right.
Like, but I got my Razor scooter, and it was all red. It had with like red grip tape and red handlebars. And I went through and added a wheelie bar. I added like a full
skid tape.
Skid tape across the entire base. So it wasn't just like the like oval where it said Razor. It was the whole thing.
You had full control with your feet. You could
do all the kick flips and such.
All of the tail whips and
absolutely more like ankle breakers is what I like to call it. But yeah, I got green grips instead of the red. I got light up wheels. I mean, it was just like anything I could possibly do to it. I was like
tricked out.
I'm tricked out. Like I would like show up, at the skate park and be like, "What's up, guys?"
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but my wheels light up.
Yeah, what up?
It was awesome. But that brings me to my next topic, which is, okay, so like I've had my Jeep dilemma, which we talked about all of last week, which was like this whole thing where I finally had my dream car. My whole life I wanted to make all these upgrades, but it just like I couldn't justify it in my head. Like it financially seemed like poor decision making because I just wasn't going to use it in that capacity.
Right.
I have a similar dilemma this week.
Oh boy.
Okay. So I inherited last year our grandfather's like boat.
I'm familiar with it.
The boat. So
the Mamie, as it's called.
The Mamie, which is named such after our great grandmother, who was the original person to purchase the boat in 1975. So
still running.
Is
75? That feels too early.
No, that's it.
That's it?
That's
okay.
it. Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
All right.
I have all of the original paperwork from Grandpa. He sent it all to me.
Nice.
So it's the case, and this particular boat is, it's like in my mind, I see it as like a family heirloom type of thing. Like it's been there like our whole lives. We learned how to like water ski behind it. Our dad learned how to water ski behind it. Like it is, it's been a fixture. It's always been there. And now like I am like the one who is in current ownership of it.
Yeah.
And
of this 46-year-old boat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that it's not like a rare or collectible or there's nothing about it that would make it valuable. So really when it comes down to it like a comparable example might be the fact that like your family has a 1975 Toyota Corolla, and it's like it was your parents' first car ever, and it just sort of has always lived with the family, always and forever. And now
you had a very meticulous grandfather, and they have kept up with it, in a way that most people just sell the car.
Exactly,
but they're like, nah, I love this. I'm keeping the car.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's been a thing for a very long time because this has been every summer. I always have the exact same like mental like shift, which is like, oh man, it's summer, which means we can go to the lake, which means we need a boat. And it was always like one of those things where it's like, well, like I never actually had ever purchased a boat.
Right.
And so now finally I have come into possession of one, but not by purchase, by handing of down.
Well, I mean, you're in a weird position because even it's like, yeah, there's always that like one weekend or week of the summer where maybe you're going to need the boat, or
Right.
maybe you need a boat, but like certainly that's such a limited amount of time that it's not. You can't justify
It's
fully owning it.
Exactly, and that's like forever has been like the real challenge. It's like we don't have like a lake house, or live so close to a lake that you could just go and like pop in and do it frequently, or,
Right.
So it would mean that every single time you did it, you'd have to like put it on the trailer and like bring the trailer and launch it and pull it out and like all the stuff. So for the longest time hadn't done it. So now I have one, and it's been a lot of fun to like kind of get moving on it and kind of like get it running and like doing all the stuff and like and actually taking it out on the weekends,
Right.
which I've been doing. And so the position that I'm in now is really funny because the boat itself is really probably not worth like dollar figure very much money at all. Like I would never do it, but even in a world where like you could sell it, there's not like a price tag you could put on it that would be like where you would even feel like it was worth it, I guess.
Right.
But on the flip side, there are things that I could like add to it that might allow us to enjoy it more. But all of those things quite literally would be more expensive than the boat is worth.
Right.
And so now it's like an odd situation where it's like it's the opposite of the Jeep, where it's like I will use it for exactly what it's supposed to be used for.
Right.
Like, whereas I didn't want to take my Jeep off-roading because it was just the nicest vehicle I had ever owned. And it's like, I will put this in the water and I will go water skiing behind it, and I can make that better by putting this on here. But this part is like, it literally costs 3 times as much as the boat is worth.
Yeah, like if you mean like a new propeller?
Well, like
Or a new-
it's called a wake tower, but it basically like bolts onto the sides of the boat, and then you have like a high fixture point. So if you wakeboard behind the boat, you can like
Oh, like you can get like air or
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
yeah.
You plan on getting a lot of air.
getting some big air. I don't know if I will get big air, but in my mind, Luke will get big air.
That's okay. There's something there.
Yeah, I have all the faith in the next gen.
Here's what I would say about Luke getting air on a wakeboard behind a boat is that if we're at the stage where such a thing is happening and we are at the lake so frequently, I think at that point we've got a different boat. You know what I mean? Like, I think you don't need to worry about whether or not you need a wake tower for the sake
Luke.
of Luke.
Sure.
But because the boat you have is going to be fantastic for Luke to get interested in being pulled behind a boat
There you go.
via water skis
Via
or
water
whatever.
ski, right.
And it's going to be great at that. It's going to be great for tubing. But if you're, I think
It's a gateway boat.
it's a gateway boat. Exactly.
Excellent. To bring us to to even greater Gnar than we could ever accomplish on our own.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, the exciting stuff. So anyway, that's been like one of my big like, all weekend I was down there, and I have like a buffer and stuff, and I was like, buffing out like all the like kind of faded looking patches and trying to like bring color back to it and
Yeah.
stuff. And I'm like, here we go.
Here we go.
Gonna make it look like it's a 1985.
Right. Well, so it's like, are you concerned though with the fact that if you're gonna use the boat though, even if it would cost you as much to just buy another boat, is that the main hurdle for you, that it would cost like just that it's so expensive to upgrade?
Yeah, it's like
Because if you're going to use it, then you'd still use it.
then you'd
right?
still use it. Yeah, exactly. And I think like what the weird like line to walk on it is that like on the one hand it's this like family heirloom item, so it's like it's not something that like I really want to like part with. Like I feel like even in the world where eventually, if ever we had like a better one, it's not like I would like sell this one to put towards that one. This is like you would just always have it anyway. And so it's kind of like it's like, how much can you upgrade something that has just like reached this stage?
You're reaching like the like Ship of Theseus nostalgia heirloom
paradox.
Paradox.
Yes, precisely.
Like
So
you've always wanted a boat, and now you have a boat, and you like upgrading things. But if you upgrade the boat too much, does it stop being the heirloom that it was?
yes, that's a very good way to say it. Yes.
Hmm.
So for those of you who don't know, the ship of Theseus paradox is basically the idea that like a ship has existed for so long that they have gone through and replaced like all of the floorboards and the gunnels and the masts and the steering column and everything. And it's kind of like at some point in time, did it stop being the original ship? And
Right.
it's now just like what you did was literally build an entire new ship where the previous ship used to be.
Right. If you replace, if you replace one floorboard with a new floorboard, no problem. It's obviously the same boat.
Right.
It's obviously the same boat.
You
But
just
if
you fix the hole.
right, exactly. You just fix the hole. But if you replace all the floorboards, is it still the same boat?
Right.
Right. It's a new
It-
floor. It's the same boat. And then if that continues to the whole boat, is it a new boat or is it the same boat?
Yeah.
What if you make a new boat out of the old boat parts?
That's
Is
another-
that the original boat?
It feels like close. It feels like close. It feels like if you made a new boat out of the old boat parts, that's closer to definitely being the same boat than replacing all of the parts of the original boat with new parts. Does that make sense?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Okay.
I don't know either. The point is, if you upgrade Grandpa's boat, does it stop being Grandpa's boat at some point? Or
Yeah.
does it just start being a new boat?
Does it start being a new boat, or is what's happening because if you want to look at it in the sense of that's like a family heirloom, it's like, do you want to see like you can see like what happened during like Ben's ownership of it? If someday after shredding the gnar his whole life, Luke's like
Yeah, what happens when Luke owns the boat?
exactly. It's like you can like see like where Grandpa Jack left off, where Ben picked up, and now it's my turn.
Right.
I'm gonna put racing stripes on it.
Yeah. What scenario is it? How old is the boat at this point? Then it's almost like an 80-year-old boat or something now, right?
I mean,
still running.
Still running.
That's right.
That's my hope. That's
Your hope. Yeah, you're gonna have to make sure you take some meticulous care of this here, the Glastron.
I know. I'm gonna have to work on that.
Yeah.
have to work on that. But I did get to use it this past weekend.
That's
I
good.
pulled people on a tube.
There you go.
It did fantastically.
Fantastic.
It fired right up on the second turn.
That doesn't remember. That's not the boat I remember.
So you gotta stop, fiddle with it, put it back in the rack.
I will say it's interesting finding out that if you were just gonna like it always seemed like when we were going up to camp as kids that you were so excited you woke up, it's like it's time to go out on the boat, except Grandpa's got to fix the boat real quick.
It needs some spark plugs.
And he needs some spark plugs, or he needs some lug nut from Russia or something. It always seemed like something was wrong. It's like I got to replace the tube. I got to replace something. It's
a
like,
lug nut from Russia.
Who's to say, Ben? Who's to say? It always felt like something. I'm surprised the boat's not held together with string.
I mean,
But it's curious to me that it just fired right up because
it never felt like it did.
It never felt like it did, and it always seemed like, man, I don't understand why you don't just if it's always failing, why aren't you just replacing the whole giant piece? Like at some point you just got to get a new engine, but it sounds like that would be stupid because you should just get a new boat at that point.
Yeah.
And that's really the reason. So maybe you just had to keep like band-aiding it together. But it also occurs to me that maybe I think maybe a large part of it for Grandpa may have been just tinkering with it was just fun.
I think that probably on some level,
Yeah.
you may reach your point with your boat that it's like it's more fun to tinker with it than it is actually use it. And like I think that that's possible. It may be the case that he's like, well, I can't water ski anymore, so now I'm gonna tinker.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure that the squeeze ball is not dry rotted,
Right.
or that we're safely replacing it 3 years in advance of such a moment.
Right. Don't want to be out there on the water and have the auxiliary tank squeeze ball not fail on you.
Exactly.
I mean, that's true. You don't, but
But like, I can assure you that it is more likely that I will fall victim to that being a problem than Grandpa ever was.
oh yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I will be the type of person that's like, oh man, we're gonna have to paddle back in.
Yeah, that would have been exactly it.
Grandpa never had to paddle back in. That's
true.
what it comes down to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm curious to know what upgrades you do or don't make to the boat. Will it have subwoofers?
I'm not gonna lie to you, it is an option.
Man, I mean, I imagine if you install subwoofers in certain ways on boats, that if they're loud enough, you can literally see the ripples in the water.
Ooh.
Right?
Ooh.
Probably.
That had never occurred to me before. No, the reason I say that it's possible is because the particular tower that I'm looking at, on top of just being a customizable, on top of it already being something that you could do to customize your own boat, you could then customize the towers as well. And so you can have like a sunshade up there, and then you can add speakers that just like bolt on. And
I see.
Yeah. And so it's like, as I'm going through, it's like, oh, do you want to add speakers to yours? And I'm like, sort of.
Right. Is there any concern that is that like the equivalent of restoring like a 1920s Model T with like Bluetooth or something? You know what I mean?
What a question.
You know, like, is that like
the integrity of the vehicle is being compromised?
Like, is your aim to like modernize it or to like restore it, or just, I don't know. Is there something? Yeah. Do you lessen the integrity of like an antique car by putting like a?
I think, I mean, I am in no way, shape, or form like a purist in this particular situation.
Okay.
Like, I don't have strong opinions about it. I would say that if you have like a 69 Mustang, then I would say that it is a greater foul than a boat that is worth like $900. So like, you know, I think in my particular case, I am less worried about maintaining the historical value of the thing itself, and more in favor of optimizing our ability to enjoy it, which I think, even if you were to ask Grandpa, would probably be his number one goal, is for people to have fun with it.
All right, that sounds like sound reasoning.
There you go.
Totally down. I approve.
Okay, good.
All
right. So moving on, because we seem to, at least last week's trend was we spent about the first half of the video talking about subwoofers, and then we spent the second half in really like almost neck deep philosophical conversation.
we took some deep turns last week.
We did. I ended up listening back to the episode with Alice on our drive up to the lake, and so it was kind of like, it was really funny to watch the evolution of the conversation. I was like, I know at some point we get to philosophy, but we were talking about subwoofers for a hot second here. So I don't want to make it too heavy this week or anything, but we did have some really interesting feedback from some folks about some different philosophical ideas.
Okay.
So one of them is called the prisoner's dilemma,
Okay.
which I think fits rather nicely. You were talking about a grid last week that sort of spoke to like lose, win, win scenarios.
Yeah.
Where like by way of high consideration and high courage, you can effectively produce win-win situations so that people that you are interacting with are both getting maybe the most positive result.
Right.
It sounds like with the prisoner dilemmas is maybe not exactly the same, but it works on a similar grid.
I am looking at the grid as well, and I can see. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily look exactly this. Yeah, I mean, I can see the obvious comparison where, like, well, I'll let you describe it.
Okay, I'll do my best. Okay, so the idea here is that like you would have potentially two people who get maybe are arrested or on trial for like a similar crime, like you did a thing, and basically the way that the grid works is like different versions of which person between A and B either talk or don't talk in favor of maybe sealing a deal that might like benefit them but not the other person.
Right.
So like there's an instance where A is like, okay, here's what we did, and like this person did whatever, and then they're like, okay, in exchange for you helping us solve this crime, B is going away and we are going to grant you like immunity or whatever the proper jargon is.
Right. Like if you can give us evidence against them, they will serve the maximum sentence and you can walk free.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes. And then on the flip side,
yeah,
they could also do the same thing.
Right.
And then like you would serve the maximum sentence and
They would walk
they
free.
would walk free.
Conversely, yeah, it looks like if neither of you rats the other person out, both of you serve
Like maybe a lesser period of time.
Yeah, you both serve. This is saying both serve 1 year, and whereas if you both rat each other out, then you both serve 2 years.
Right. Yes. So,
Whereas, yeah, and then if you rat the other person out, then you would go free and they would spend 3.
right.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll put it on screen if you're watching the actual version of it, because I think that'll probably help connect a couple of those dots. But it's another interesting kind of idea where, like, in this situation where you have gotten in trouble with law for some reason or another, it's kind of like, what is the course, like what is the most ethical course of action by way of like your solidarity even with the other person
Right.
that you got in trouble with.
Right.
You know, it's like there's like the ability to like to hold strong with that person, and then you both kind of have a negative outcome, or one of you doesn't hold strong and you get a positive outcome and they have a negative outcome, or you both rat them out and you both have an even more
Worse.
negative outcome.
This is I get this is a dilemma. So because of course you're all operating from a state of open dishonesty because you've been caught committing the crime.
Sure.
So you know the other person to be dishonest.
I also
outright.
Yes, I also feel like there is a certain amount of, there are 2 rooms and you have been separated from your comrade.
Oh, of course. That's the problem. That's
Right.
the dilemma. It's like, if I stay silent, like if you know the 3 outcomes, yeah, like, okay, you're in the scenario. You're like, if I stay silent and he stays silent, that's the win-win, at least in this scenario.
Right, like we both
Right.
we both serve time, but maybe less on the
But
whole.
the least amount overall.
Yes.
For everyone. That's the best case scenario. However, if I stay silent and he talks to me and he talks, then I'm completely screwed and I get the maximum.
Right.
But if let me just try and dissuade it. But then if you talk and they say nothing, you get to get free.
Right.
So like if you can count on them to be silent, then you're great. That's the best case for you.
Yes.
That's the win-lose. But if the other person arrives at the same decision, then you both lose and you both have 2 years.
Right. It's very interesting though, because I actually think that there's like a game show that revolves around this very idea.
I'm sure there is.
Where it's basically like, I think that you can like either like steal the money or share the money, but depending on like what happens, it's exactly the same situation. So like, let's say there's a pot of $1,000 and you're both standing there like looking at each other, and you can either say like, I will steal them, or if you both say share the money, then you split the $1,000 and you both get
You both get 500.
Right. If you say steal and the other person says steal, then both of you get nothing.
Right.
But then there's that flip side where it's like, do you try to convince them like, hey, we're on share, right? We're on share. You agree? We're on share.
Right.
And then it's
if you say steal and they say share, then you get the whole thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're like, okay. It's like you try to convince them share is the way we're going to go. Like we are on the same team. But then if you've convinced them of that, then they're in that situation of like, he's convincing me to say share.
Right.
So I'm going to steal. Because like if he sticks to his word,
Yeah.
then I get all the money.
Yeah.
But then at the same rate, if you're the person convincing the person,
Oh yeah.
then it's like, it's very much like your strategy could both be influenced by the idea that like, hey, you know, half a loaf, right? Like,
Yeah.
like is better than nothing. Like, let's both take some, and we both get something here.
Exactly.
But again, going back to like last week's, it's like, this is that situation where I think you've stepped into the big time gray area of that win-win versus win-lose versus lose-lose situation.
Yeah.
Because the lose-lose is very evident. Like you both get nothing.
Yeah.
That is lose-lose. And then there's win-lose on both ends where one person steals, the other person doesn't. And so they get all of it. But in the instance where you split it,
Yeah.
you're both getting less than the full amount that is available.
Right.
Is that the win-win?
Well, yes, that is the win-win.
You would say that's the win.
I would say that's because the point of that scenario is to how to work with other people.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that is the best outcome for everyone.
And I like the way that you said that, because I think what that means is that it's like you don't look at the maximum pot anymore as $1,000. You look at the maximum pot as $500. So you're not sacrificing $500 to get $500. It is just the case that the best case scenario for everyone involved only ever was $500.
Right.
Despite the fact that the board, the big lit up board with the, fancy game show host, whatever, says 1,000 on it.
Yeah.
Are you following why? Okay.
Yeah.
Like why there could be some disparity over that being like a full blown win.
I do. And the problem is that, of course, it's easy to think that's a full win because you get more money. And in the context of a game show, I suppose truly winning, this is more like cutthroat. This is not like let's arrange business terms,
Sure, you're absolutely correct. Like,
in the context of a game show, you probably just want the $1,000, but
it's just sure.
But but if you're trying to make a business deal with another company and you're just trying to like get the maximum out of them, like that is ultimately going to eventually hurt because you want them to thrive too, because them thriving should mean you thriving. And
absolutely.
That's what you're going for. And if what you did was you like gutted them for a bunch of money on your end and what they got out of it was not much, then chances are maybe you have like a short-term win, but in the end you can't rely on them again.
Sure.
And that's going to net you less in the long run.
Absolutely.
Kind of situation.
Yes. Okay. So I think the interesting thing about it is it dovetails rather nicely with the next piece of feedback that I wanted to bring in from Matt Bailey, who wrote in about Kohlberg's stages of moral development.
Oh, okay.
Because I feel like this kind of plays nicely with the idea of like what is maybe the right thing to do and why you might be doing that thing.
Oh boy.
So it kind of goes through the stages of why you might make a particular decision.
Yeah.
And like it really, I think, emphasizes like not like I think you could be making the same decision the entire time. But what this might fall back on is like what is inside of you that is the driving force behind making this particular decision.
Okay.
And I think that it's sort of like a inching your way throughout life towards like a layer of enlightenment. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a good thing you could even be like asking yourself the question of as you go through each of these things, because like if you're making a decision, you can sort of put yourself to the test. It's like, why am I personally making this decision? Like,
right.
So, okay. It would start with stage 1 being, I do it so I don't get in trouble.
Okay.
This might be the case if you are like, the only reason that you drive the speed limit is so that you do not get speeding tickets. Like,
right.
It's like, it's not that you are worried about the potential for somebody maybe is potentially at a crosswalk,
right?
Or there could be a cyclist on the road with me, or even just being on the interstate that by going way too fast, you could cause somebody else to,
right?
Like be in harm's way.
Right. I would drive faster if I was allowed to, but it's 65, and if I go 70, I'll get a ticket.
Right.
Otherwise, there's nothing holding me back. I don't care about the safety of others. It is solely to avoid consequence. Yeah.
Yes. And in this particular case, like we were talking about last week, it's like that consequentialism. It's like the best possible outcome is by way of doing this. I will not get in trouble.
Right.
And that's your very individualistic version of that scope, but from your perspective.
This is such a great example. The speed limit is such a great example because I can almost guarantee you the reason it is so I do it so I don't get in trouble is the reasoning behind every young male who's ever gotten a driver's license. like that has been 1,000% my experience, and I would say that a lot of times they're not doing it at all.
Sure. Yeah, I could see that. Stage 2, as you continue to develop your moral stages here, would be I do it so I get something out of it. And this would be like.
This is like if the insurance company is saying, if you have a track record of not speeding for a year, we'll lower your rate.
Exactly. Yeah. So you personally gain some layer of benefit by way of doing it. So you are continuing to mostly look out for you,
you.
but there is like a positive kickback along that path,
Right.
Like something that you get by way of it's not only not getting in trouble, but now you get financial reward,
Right.
by way of.
But it's still not, you're not doing it to be safer. You're still just doing it. Like the end result is that you are safer, but your reasoning behind it is still just to lower your bill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So as we continue on, stage 3 says, I do it so that you like me.
Now the girl sitting next to you really doesn't like speeding.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, let's say that like we're me high school Ben, and it's like I have gotten to the point where it's like I'm not speeding because I don't want to get in trouble. I'm not speeding because it means that my insurance goes down and I have more money to go on dates.
Yeah.
Which I am now on.
Right.
And now the person in the passenger seat is vehemently against speeding.
Right. Their ex-boyfriend just came flying by at 90 miles an hour, and they were like, huh.
Right.
Yeah.
Like where maybe in my brain there'd be some version of like, whoa, but then in theirs, like you are clarified, and it's like that is not a cool thing to do.
Right.
Which is also
if I follow the speed limit, you'll like me more.
right.
Exactly.
Yes. So you're making decisions on that basis. Okay. So let's continue forward. So stage 4 says, I do it because it is the law and I respect the law.
Oh, all right, moving up. Now we're getting a little closer to just like I don't know what am I going for here? It feels like that is closer to respecting society.
Yes. And I think that maybe we're not quite at it yet.
Maybe, no.
But I was thinking like last week I compared like Iron Man, who kind of represents, again, from my take on this, I'm not an expert, but is that he sort of falls into like deontology, which is sort of like there has been rational thinking and there are rules that we need to like, place here in order to like make sure that things are done correctly.
Right.
And it's like by falling into this category, we are continuing on a course that has been established for a reason, which might be like, maybe at this point in time, you might be like, I understand that speed limits are effective for like the reason that people have come to these decisions, that they have created these laws, is because 25 miles an hour in a school zone is due to the greater likelihood that there could be something on the road. And so by being aware of that, by them having the speed limit, it is like we ensure that there is safety, I guess, with that. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Hopefully we're still getting the analogy to work.
I think so. We're getting there.
Okay. So moving on up again. Stage 5, I do it because of a social contract we have with each other.
Okay.
I'm thinking about speeding here.
I know. I'm trying to think, how do I apply this to speeding?
Yeah. Let's think.
This is like, I guess, with the now you're dealing with the other motorists on the road. It's like we all agree to go the speed limit because you're going the speed limit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. I like that. And yeah, it's like an agreed upon thing. It's
Right.
like I'll do it and you'll do it, and because we're both agreeing to do it,
Yeah.
it makes these roadways safe.
Right. Because if everyone's going the same speed, we're all good.
Right. Because all of it, I mean, if there's like one person, you drive on the right side of the road, and there's one person who's like, left side of the road now. It's like,
Yeah.
that's breaking that contract. Like I am
Right.
relying on you to also abide by the
Right.
agreed upon rules.
Right. This is why when you're driving in a neighborhood and there's no lines on the road, why you don't freak out when someone's coming at you the other way.
Yeah, that's a very good way to put it.
Right.
Yeah, because there aren't lines defining where to go, but we know.
We know, like there is a social contract that says I will stay on the right and you will stay on the right, because otherwise sometimes it baffles me. Like how close you are to the cars going the literal exact opposite direction.
Yes.
And it's like you don't think twice about it.
Right.
It's like, oh yeah, what's there separating us here? Paint and 2 feet.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this was the number one thing I struggled with when I was learning to drive. I would slow down every single time a car
Yeah.
passed me on the road, because it was like, I think my awareness of where I was, with the lines, it was like, I'm gonna try to make
yeah.
sure I'm as far over as possible. And
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable doing that at speed, so I'm gonna slow down. So I have a feeling that was probably frustrating for people,
Right. But
along the way. But
I can't even imagine you're just out in like the desert.
Right.
It's just barren land on all sides, and you're 200 yards away from someone, and you say, all right, we're both going to try, and we're aiming the cars at each other. right? Cool. We're both going to get up to 50 miles an hour, and we're going to pass each other as just with at like 2 feet apart.
Yeah, there's
you'd
gonna be
like
3-4 feet at max.
at max. It would be terrifying.
Yes.
But as soon as the road is there with the line, it's like whatever, Craig, no problem.
We got this.
We got this.
We've
You're
practiced.
not. Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
stay here. You stay there. No, you're not going to hit each other. No, like yeah, it happens
Yeah.
all the time.
We're licensed.
We're
It's good.
licensed.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So anyway, we put that together nicely.
We did.
Way to go,
Wow,
us.
look at us.
Yeah, there you go.
Speed limits.
we're understanding. Stage 6 is the top of the developmental progress of your morals, and it says, "I do it because it is the right thing to do." And I think that this. It almost doesn't even need explanation, because I think that it's very easy to understand what that means. Like, it's like you're not speeding because it's the right thing to do. You're taking into consideration even all of these other things, and also just like this is right.
Right.
And
like, it's not because the sign says go 65 miles an hour. It's because to go any faster would be immoral based on the speed everyone else is traveling.
yes.
And how reckless it would be.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I think, again, this is where I come back to the idea that I think this pairs very nicely with like that like virtuism that Captain America or Steve Rogers
Right.
embodies, which is that basically like he is going to go and save people because it is the right thing to do.
Right.
And it actually is kind of interesting, because it's almost like everything else we've done so far is constructing like guidelines and rules and ideas that you might like fall in between. And this is almost like, it's like a tick more abstract in a sense, because it's like, it's like, I guess with Cap, there is the idea that you could be breaking the law by saving somebody, but in like that idea of virtuism is that like you are
Still doing. So now in the scenario, the girl from earlier, who she loved you, man. You went the speed limit. Well, great news. Years later now, and baby on the way.
right.
Baby on the way. Hospital's like an hour away. That baby's gonna be here like, oh boy, it looks quick.
Right.
It looks quick. Now you're on the road. We're going like 100 miles an hour. You know what I mean? And you know what? I think Cap would be like, yeah, we're getting to the hospital. Run now.
Right, yeah. It's like,
Run
like now you have found yourself
Yeah.
in like emergency situation mode, where it's like, okay.
Right.
In a lot of senses, like, so we describe it as like you and your person or whatever, but like an ambulance, I think very neatly falls into this set of like rules.
Yeah.
Like ambulances like can go faster.
Yeah.
Because and then of
Yeah.
course there's also social contract involved with that.
Yeah.
There are also laws involved with that, but like, I would say in most instances people can rely on the fact that you are going to pull over for an ambulance
Yeah.
to let it through.
Yeah.
And that is both law and social contract.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought that was really interesting, because it does sort of, I think, stair step you through this process of how and why you might be making decisions. Because we just compared everything to like a very simple example of speeding.
Yeah.
But this could be extending much further beyond to basically thinking in terms of doing things specifically because it's the right thing to do, and knowing that like there could be cases where like I'm trying to think of like there could be like possible negative detriment even to yourself in some small capacity, but it's like the correct thing to do is let me give an example. Okay, so let's say you are out at like an outdoor gathering of friends, family, others all around.
Yeah.
You step out of your car and you find a $100 bill on the ground, and
nice.
you're like, wow.
Lucky day.
Lucky day. And then all of a sudden, it's cash dollars.
Right.
Like this is not like money that is like specifically, notably assigned to anybody.
Right.
But so you found your $100, you're like, whoa, like how cool, how exciting. And then like, up on the PA, there's that guy up there, and he's like, we actually had somebody who dropped $100 when stepping out of their car. This would be like, I think, that situation where it's almost like it is like coming forward and being like, I found the $100, like
Right.
the right thing to do is to return the $100.
Right.
Even though the other possible scenario here is that you now have $100.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in this particular instance, I would say that there are no like specific laws necessarily that are suggesting that there's anything like that you have to return it.
Right.
You know, like there's nothing mandating that. It could even be the case that you were off in the corner in the parking lot in like the great big field or whatever, and you know,
Right.
like there's not even the ability for you to know who it could have come from.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
Go with that.
The right
It
thing
seems
to
like
do.
you could still have other situations here where you might end up returning the money based on the other stages.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you might look up and notice, oh, there's security cameras or something. Like,
Well, certainly.
You know,
Yep.
like, oh, if I keep it, maybe they'll check the tapes and they'll see that it was me. And after they make the announcement, then I'll get in trouble.
Well, okay, and so I think that this is where you can be making the same decision, but why you are making it like into your
Right.
core is really what makes all the difference in the
Exactly.
world. Yeah. So it could be the case that like yes, you are fearing being caught having been found as the person who found the $100, and so you're like, well, I don't want to get in trouble, so like here, you know, I'm
Right.
giving it back. But it could also be the case that there were cameras and you picked it up and you were still returning it because
Right. Because it's the right thing to do.
it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that just because the presence of cameras is that you can no longer only be doing it because of that. It's like
Right. Just because that could have been your motivation.
doesn't mean it is.
Hopefully your motivation is simply just that it was the right thing to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Very cool.
All right.
I like this.
I like this. Yeah. I am curious to look at different examples of Kohlberg's stages of moral development. Because like it feels like this is a theoretical progression you might have throughout life.
Yeah, well, and so this is almost where I would really like to extend maybe the question out there to the little kernels who are tuned in, and maybe ask that question of like, have you had a situation in your life where you did the right thing, and can you go back to and like maybe even explain why maybe you made that decision? Do you have any instances where you felt like I did the right thing, I did what I felt was right?
I am sure that I do.
I put you on the spot.
I know you're pretty much. It sounds like a very personal question, potentially personal question.
Jay, please open your diary. Explain everything to me. I won't hold you to it. I won't hold you to
Okay.
it. But if there's anybody out there who does have this particular who has gone through something and would like to share those stories, that might be something for us to take a look at. You know, to better understand, get better exposure to possible instances where you might be able to do this particular thing.
Yeah.
And if you would like to email those stories to us at popcornculturepod@gmail.com, that would be great.
That would be great.
That would be wonderful.
Love to hear it. Maybe we'll share some.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, Jay, but as we round off today's discussion, I feel like it's only fitting that we started with a very light topic.
Oh.
We entered into heavy topics.
We did.
In a way, in a manner of speaking. Maybe people learned something today.
I bet they did. I feel like we were riffing those speeding limit.
Look at us go.
Look at us.
Go. Yeah. Cell 5. But I would like to be able to end today's episode, or as we close out today's episode, with a corny joke.
Let's do it.
We have one here today from Hannah Harrington, who says, "How do you find the gym at Hogwarts?"
The gym,
The gym.
like for lifting weights.
Yeah. Lifting weights specifically.
Let's see. How would you find
How would you find it?
the gym at Hogwarts? Like, I don't know. How would you find it?
You look for the dumbbell door.
Oh, the
Pretty good.
dumbbell door.
Yeah, pretty good. You just know that Albus goes in there and just like,
Right, like he's always wearing those robes, but he's rocking a six pack. He's shredded.
pure shredded.
Yeah. It's
Pure
like, wow, how old is he? Like 110? What's his secret? Is it just because he's magical? No, it's because he takes care of his body and takes vitamins every day and is in past the dumbbell door.
Yeah. I actually, because it's even like one of those jokes where when he goes and like he's trying to convince Slughorn, he likes like the knitting patterns
Yeah.
in the magazine. I also like to think that he gets like Muggle fitness mags.
Probably.
To go through like what's a good new regime I could be getting into.
They don't really talk about like physical fitness that much in the wizarding world.
Yeah, I wonder how much that might come into play for something like Quidditch. Like coordination obviously seems like it would be very, very important.
Seems like core strength got to be very important.
Yeah, I could see that because
I
like, you have to
imagine.
be able to be like holding the broom while also potentially like holding a quaffle and then being able to like give it a good quality.
You don't
heave.
have much to like much to press your weight against.
Yeah, this is like one of the. I mean, I know this isn't exactly. It's not the same because we're not in space. But like, could you throw a ball in space?
Yes. Because you would just also go backwards.
Right. Yeah. Because I feel like you couldn't like punch somebody in space.
You could punch them. You would just also go backwards.
Right. But like, would they feel anything? Because if you were to put force in, the force would then just be returned backwards. So like it yields nothing. Is that how space works?
No, I don't think so. I think they would feel it sure.
They would feel it.
They could feel it. It probably isn't going to be the same as like punching someone in full gravity.
Okay.
And I think some of the force will go into them, but some will also come back and you'll go backwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like a smaller portion might go into them, but the major portion might go into you and into going backwards.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it.
Right. Because it'd be the same as like, I mean, you could punch a wall, right? You just go backwards. The wall's not going anywhere.
Yeah. I don't understand space sometimes.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much, as always, for tuning in to The Pop. We super appreciate it. If you have any feedback on today's episode, you can send it to us at popcornculturepod@gmail.com. Otherwise, we're also over on Reddit and Twitter and also Patreon.
Yeah.
Where we have some exciting new tiers going on. If you want to go and check that out, it's patreon.com/popcornculture. Otherwise, until next week,
pop.